two first questions for you.
Yeah.
First question, are you running for re-election?
I am.
Have you filed?
No, I plan on filing actually today.
Today?
Yeah.
When?
I don't know exact time, but today.
Sometime today?
Yeah.
So why do you want to sit down and talk about everything that happened?
Well, I think it's important. You know, obviously it's a personal issue that became national news. You know, when I was going through that 10 years ago, I didn't expect that in 10 years I would be talking about it, particularly in open court and federal court. But that took place, and I think it's important for the citizens of Baltimore to hear directly from me about it.
Let's go back to right after that news conference, right after you won election, the news conference outside City Hall.
Yeah.
It was my colleague who asked about the tax lien that was on your property. You said that it had been taken care of, but that was a lie.
Yeah.
Why did you lie to the public?
Well, at the time, I still didn't realize that there was a formal tax lien. I mean, it's a lot of complications with the way it was actually entered. But it was a personal matter, and I should have addressed it as a personal matter.
Mm-hmm.
So I regret that, and you know, I think I've said that, and I'll constantly say that. So it's an opportunity for me to grow and learn from that. You know, sometimes we all have personal issues in our families, and it's important for us to handle them as personal issues. And I think my first interview, I think, as the newly elected president of City Council, first time on that stage, and I probably could have handled it a different way. The reality is, the foundation of it all was based off of me just protecting my family, you know, at a time when, you know, death threats and a lot of pressure of my family. Didn't want that other issue to be added to it. So publicly I tried to calm my family down as much as possible the way I was doing internally.
Mm-hmm. Do you regret the way that you handled that?
Yes. I mean, I think it's an opportunity for me to grow from that. So again, it was a personal matter.
Mm-hmm.
I should have kept it as a personal matter. I should have communicated it that way, and if I had to do it again, that's exactly the way I would do it.
You remember when I brought you a copy of the tax lien?
Yeah.
Everyone has seen the video.
Correct.
Did you believe that that was real, or did you believe that I was lying when I had a copy of it that day?
So that was after I was on a radio show.
Yep.
Where a reporter, who was the only reporter, I guess, in town who had it, put it out on Twitter, and so that sequence of events happened after that.
Right.
Yeah.
So why did you
at that point I'd already knew that.
But you told me that you didn't deny the existence of a tax lien that day.
Again, I still didn't know there was a tax lien other than from that reporter. So I guess the concern was I didn't know how real what he had put out there or how he got it. But you know, several competent attorneys, tax attorneys, couldn't find it. You know, I'm not a tax attorney. I've never had to go through that process before. And you know, when I go out to an attorney and pay them, and they're looking into this quote unquote tax lien, and they can't find it, and not just one, but two, but three, but four. You know, I was in my mind really thought that there was not a formal tax lien on the property. Maybe
I should become a tax attorney.
Why? Do you found it?
We found it at the courthouse.
See, that was weird because what I learned after that process was I think there was a unique character that was put in it. So when you typed it up and you looked it up, it didn't pop up. So I'm not sure how you were able to find it other than, you know, several different attorneys. Some that are based in Baltimore, some that are based in DC, but they were unable to find it.
I think I need a second career.
Maybe. Yeah. How did you know to use that unique character?
We went to the court. I remember going to the courthouse several times, going up to the property records division, handing the address and said, "Is there a lien on this address?" They popped it up, printed it out for me. There it was.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
A prosecutor made some pretty significant allegations against you regarding tax fraud over the years. Do you believe you committed tax fraud?
No, again, that took place at the trial. Not really privy to talk about the trial. I know I was open and honest throughout the entire process. Been very responsive from the day the federal government in a very public display came into City Hall, and I sat down and I interviewed with them. You know, I look forward to continue to be president of City Council.
Did you give the $20-some thousand to charities over the years when the federal government says you didn't?
Taxes are a personal matter. I use a a paid professional tax preparer to do my taxes. I'm not a tax preparer, so I've been open and honest throughout this entire process. That information has been with the federal government for several years now. This was the first time that I've heard that, like you heard it. But again, I was open and honest in court, and I'll continue to be open and honest about the situation.
So, if you're open and honest about it, tell the people of Baltimore, did you donate that money to charity or not?
So charitable donations is more than just donations, but what I will say is I used a paid professional tax preparer that I paid to do my taxes and provide the information, and it's ultimately what came out of it.
So why should the people of Baltimore trust you to continue leading the City Council as well as preside over the Board of Estimates, given everything that has come out about you personally, your finances, and the mismanagement of your personal finances over the years?
So, the reality is it is a personal matter. It's personal finances. I made a decision that had financial consequences. I ran to become mayor of the city of Baltimore. I gave up my career to do that. And again, it came with a lot of financial consequences that ultimately I had to pay, and I had to try to figure out my way in the midst of all that my wife at the time was going through. Should I have not had that manly pride and knowing that, I need to continue to kind of push forward and do all the things that I've done for my family. We were a young couple. It's 10 years ago almost. And do I regret not handling it certain ways? Yes. But I'm also thankful to grow from it and learn from it. The reality is, we were a young couple. We didn't come from much. I paid for my college education. I paid for my first home. We set it up in the middle of West Baltimore because we wanted to kind of go after this aim of public service. I'm really proud and thankful for the opportunity, but again, it's something that I can learn and grow from.
So if elected again, what would be your priorities for a second term as president?
Well, when elected again, it's going to be really building off of what we've been able to do for the past 3 years. We've had some historic things here on the council. When we talk about local control of the Baltimore Police Department, that's the first time since the Civil War. When we talk about now not only cutting from the mayor's budget, but also redirecting spending, we're able to do it with apprenticeship programs. We were able to do it in public safety and apparatus for our firefighters and cleaning up facilities for our DPW workers. When we talk about the inclusionary housing bill, it's a failed policy for over 20 years, almost 20 years, that we were able to kind of push forward. So substantive legislation to really go after some of the systemic issues that have plagued our communities for far too long and just continue to build off the work. The reality is not just the work that I've done here in City Hall, but also some of the work that I've done in Annapolis. So I look forward to continue to lead that effort.
What do you think is your biggest accomplishment thus far in this office?
In this term?
Yeah.
So, we could talk about the legislative stuff. So we could talk about, again, inclusionary housing. We can talk about a budget and setting up a budget office. First time that City Hall the council has been able to do that, hiring competent folks to really develop and work a competent process. We could talk about the redistricting process. All those things we can kind of talk about from a legislative perspective. I think the biggest thing is really bringing professionalism to the City Council. No longer, is there a city council where every city council member is a committee chair. No longer do we have a city council where the only thing you hear coming out of the city council is non-binding resolutions. But it's really, how do we put skill sets and subject matter expertise in the right focus to drive real policy to go after and tackle some of the systemic issues that our city has been plagued with for far too long. So I would say the professionalizing the council and a lot of stuff that I learned in Annapolis is probably the biggest impact of what we've been able to sow our seeds, and from it we've gotten that quality legislation that we'll continue to pump out.
Professionalizing the office, that's something I've heard you talk about for a few years now at this point. That has been a priority for you, restructuring the committees and kind of adjusting some of the policies in your mind to professionalize this office. But do you think voters will believe that in a sense that if you want to professionalize this and yet your personal life appears to be messy?
Yeah.
How can you professionalize the city office when your personal life is the way it is?
So I think that voters are human, and they know that we all have challenges. They know that we all make mistakes. I was 33, 34 years old at the time. really aggressively going after something that was a dream of mine, to become mayor of Baltimore.
Is that still your dream?
It's my dream to serve the citizens of Baltimore, but at the time, to really go after and support the citizens of Baltimore in the way that I thought was best. And it created some financial challenges for me, and really some consequences that I never intended. People have financial issues all the time. I don't think that they intend to it to become national news. And again, I should have handled it a different way. Unfortunately, I did not, and it's important for me to grow from that and continue to grow from that. I think the biggest part of that, and what I hear from constituents, is it's never wavered me or impacted my public service. So, as it relates to being prepared and showing up to the Board of Estimates and ensuring that we're talking about the BG&E conduit issue, or the 83 cameras, or CFG Arena, all the things that we've been able to kind of tackle and really kind of put forth a Board of Estimates that's been different than what we've seen for decades. I've constantly done that. And when we talk about professionalizing the council, the X's and O's of really running a legislative body that we can be proud of, that we can continue to push in the right direction and truly be the people's body of the city of Baltimore, that's exactly what we've been able to do, despite all the controversy, despite all the storm. So I look forward to the ability of moving past this eventually, and just really being able to kind of do that without the cloud that's been over my head, which happened 3 months coming into office. When
it comes to looking at talking to voters and campaigning, the campaign finance records, you're pretty behind one of your opponents and your fellow councilman.
Yeah.
Does that concern you about how to run a re-election campaign?
Not at all. So I was able to raise $200,000 in about 30 days. The reality is the voters, the citizens, they know who I am. They know what I've been able to do. Whether it was, getting in front of all the legislators in Annapolis and ensuring that Preakness didn't leave Baltimore, that was me. Whether it's about, pushing ban the box for fair hiring practices here in the city council and then taking it to the state, and then ultimately being the floor leader and overriding Governor Hogan's veto at the time, that was me. So people understand and know that. And I think that that's what sets me apart from my opponents. They can raise all the money in the world that they want. They don't have the legislative record that I have. They haven't come and shown up in the way that I've constantly shown up for a city that I love. They're not from Baltimore. They're not by Baltimore. I am. And I think voters really see that and see through that. And that's why, despite some personal challenges that, again, took place 10 years ago, 10 years ago, voters will see, and voters will ultimately be very supportive of my reelection.
They also didn't get on the stand under oath and admit to lying to the public.
Correct. So that takes a lot, because you don't have to. I didn't plead the fifth. I got on stand. I was a man of what happened 10 years ago. I talked about it, and I think that was my duty. I've been responsive and transparent throughout that entire process. But I did not have to be. I did that because it was the right thing to do.
Can the voters trust that you won't lie to them again?
I think the voters do trust that and know who I am. They know my integrity. They know my character. Again, that was a personal matter that I should have kept personal. It was a new stage for me as the newly elected city council president, and I tried to talk my way around it as opposed to just dealing with it. This is a personal matter that I'm dealing with, and moved on from it. So I'm going to continue to grow as a father, as a husband, as a city council president, as an elected official. I'm thankful almost for the opportunity, because it's been a tremendous amount of growth since then.
I'm Kai Jackson. Thank you for watching. Here's another video to watch. Also, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel.